Well, there's a couple of things, unfortunately, right now is also prime time for tax fraud. And, it's a big part. It's one of the fastest growing segments of identity theft. So people need to be aware and beware.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Hey, we're at the end of March here already. Just a few more days. And you know what that means. April 15th is just a few weeks away. So the question is, are you ready for it? What's going to happen? What do you do if you get a tax lien? What are your remedies? And our good friend Paul Oster is with us from betterqualified.com. Paul, so April 15th, right around the corner, what should you be doing?
Well, there's a couple of things, unfortunately, right now is also prime time for tax fraud. And, it's a big part. It's one of the fastest growing segments of identity theft. So people need to be aware and beware of, there's a couple of different very, very prominent scams right now. One is the smishing. An SMS text message gets sent out to somebody claiming that they had trouble processing your refund. They need to speak to an agent immediately. They give you an 800 number or an 888 number to call into. But obviously, you're not calling the IRS. You're calling the identity thieves. They will also do this with robocalls. They're, calling millions and millions of Americans every day, again, claiming that it's, Agent Oster from the IRS. And there seems to be fraud associated with your account. We just need to verify some information. And the reason why these scams are so good is they already have some of your information. So they might verify your actual physical mailing address. They might verify your date of birth. They might verify your email, your phone number. Then they're going to ask you, right? So you're saying, okay, they have all this information. It's probably a legitimate call. Then they will ask you, can you please verify your social security number? And people have a tendency to fall prey to that type of situation. This can also be done via an email, which we call phishing, and it's the same situation. The email looks like it's from your bank. It looks like it's from the IRS. They're very, very convincing. Unfortunately, again, now with AI, the bad actors are using AI to perpetrate a lot of these crimes. So people just need to, if you're in a situation where someone calls you, again, the IRS will never, ever call you. They have gotten a lot better over the years, but they're still not calling taxpayers. So if you get a text message like that, just don't answer it. Take control of the situation. You could call your local IRS office, use a number that you find, obviously not the number that they provide in the text or the email. If you get the phone call, just simply hang up. If you're concerned about it, again, take control of the situation. You drive the pathway from your resources, again, not from what they're providing you. The IRS recommends really two really, really good tips for protecting your identity. So what happens in most cases is people are filing fraudulent tax returns under your social security number. And that could be to avoid that person paying the taxes. You actually get, hit with the tax. It could ultimately, for sure, become a tax lien. But the IRS suggests two things. One is creating an identity protection PIN, an IP PIN, and it's a 6-digit number. The IRS will not process a tax return without providing that PIN. So that's a really good way to stop that fraudulent tax returns from being filed under your social security number. The other thing that people should do, consumers might not be aware, but we all have the ability to create an online account with the IRS. And there's lots of different reasons why people create those accounts. You can get copies of your transcripts and see your payment history, your tax returns. But the problem is if the consumer doesn't open up this online account, the identity thieves will. And once they open that account, then it becomes that much easier for them to file these fraudulent tax returns. So if you go to irs.gov, go to irs.gov, and you can create your online portal, password and PIN protected. That is also where you can create your IP PIN, that identity protection PIN, that 6-digit PIN that is necessary for anyone, including yourself, to file a tax return on your behalf.
So, you raise a really good point here that will help you in any of your dealings with the federal government. And that is that you create one unified login for everything, Social Security, IRS, and a whole bunch of other different departments. I think it's called, I can't remember the name of it now.
I think it's ID Me.
ID Me, right. That's it.
Yep.
ID Me. And if you haven't set that up yet, you need to do it.
Yep. So, again, those are just some, tax season specific threats for identity theft. Now, let's, say that a tax lien gets filed against you, and it could be erroneously, or you could actually owe back taxes. So it's really, really important that you deal with this head on. This is a problem that just keeps getting worse. It does not just go away. You cannot ignore it, bury your head in the sand, and hope for the best. You have to deal with this head on. Now, the good news is, in the current environment, the IRS has been very, very lenient, pun intended, and willing to accept offers in compromise. So that means you're going to wind up paying less for what you owe, less of the balance. Now, obviously, it's going to be based on your current income and assets. But if you're really in a tough spot and you couldn't pay the tax lien, the IRS is somewhat understanding to that position. They will put you on a payment plan. And again, they can certainly lower the principal balance based upon your current economic situation.
Mm-hmm. Hey, so let's talk about the IRS with what's going on there. I mean, they're laying people off. You got Musk and Doge basically saying your computers are garbage. They got to be updated now, and we're going to be the ones to do it. They said that between the tech support department and the programming department, they have like 8,000 people and a $7 billion a year budget, which has turned into a grift for the major contractors. Do you think we might actually see an improvement in service from this agency?
I think there's no doubt you're going to see an improvement in a lot of government agencies. So love them or hate them. One of the mantras I've been saying, with the current administration in place and what they're doing is you can hate the man, but don't hate the mission, because you and I both pay taxes, and the amount of fraud, the amount of wasteful spending that has been uncovered in a very, very short period of time is just, it's breathtaking. And every American should be angry, not at the administration for putting these processes in place that are uncovering this. Yeah. They should be mad at the past administrations. And I'm talking both sides of the aisle. This is not a partisan project. This is not something that the Republicans are saying the Democrats did it. It's not. The Republicans are saying everybody has done it. Everyone's talked about, all these pork belly projects and all this stuff. And again, even myself, I knew that there was a certain amount of stuff that always gets thrown in these bills. I didn't realize that some of it was going, into certain classes in the middle of the Congo. And, and we're not talking tens of thousands of dollars. We're talking millions. Yeah. So again, that has a direct impact on me as a taxpayer. So I'm angry at all the past administrations. It doesn't matter to me whether it was a Republican or Democratic administration. They're all guilty. they all let this happen under their watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a grift. It's a giant grift. The party doesn't matter. It's the uniparty. And you should be angry at the politicians, both current and former, for allowing this scam to occur and throwing us 36 trillion into debt, 37, and with no end in sight. Hey, before we continue on this line, I just got an email and it says there's now an E-ZPass scam that they're using to text. They text that there's a problem with your E-ZPass and they want to pay the
your one. I've gotten it. So it comes from, it's not just E-ZPass. A lot of them are more generic. They say there's a problem with the toll provider in your state. And again, depending upon what's happening in that person's life, they can fall victim. Again, it's very, very easy for people to fall victim here. You're in the middle of a life event, crisis, whatever may be happening. Maybe you're in the middle of purchasing a home or some other financial endeavor, and you don't want this to have a negative impact on your credit. So people wind up just paying it, or even worse, they're providing more and more non-public information, sensitive data and information, where they can now steal even more money. So just paying a toll that, you shouldn't have had to pay in the first place, that's not good. But giving them access to whether it's your bank accounts, your tax returns, that could be 100 times worse. So again,
I got one just last week. I've gotten a few of them actually. This one last week says, please pay the tolls on time. Thank you for your cooperation. And it's telling me, to go to SunPass, Yeah. So I go to my SunPass because I'm in Florida. Yeah. And I've got money in the account. Everything is paid. Nothing is behind, Yep. And, it's just another scam. So getting back to this Doge, this is necessary. I think every level of government should be doing Doge here. If they're spending more than like $100 million a year, they should have a government efficiency department to see that they're spending it all wisely and that we're not getting scammed.
Yep. Again, once again, the general public, there should be way more transparency. And by design, they wanted us taxpayers to think that it was not easy to access certain informations. Where is the money going and how is it being spent and how much money was being allocated? Look at how much money we're sending to these private universities that, by the way, some of them are the richest companies in the world. They have endowments that are worth billions of dollars. They could self-fund themselves for 100 years. And yet their tuition is out of control. So they're putting students in a really bad position by forcing them to take out exorbitant student loans. So they're collecting all these tuitions. Their endowments are making money every single day without doing anything. And we're sending them $400 million a year.
Hey, and it's even worse than that, because Harvard was one of the main shareholders in a payday lending scheme, So it's not bad enough that they're screwing you on the student loans, but then, you're going to be paying for payday lending, right?
These are investment banks and again, privately held for-profit companies. These are, I don't care, how they put, they're forward-facing, this is what we do. These are companies. These are very, very large corporations. Their monies are being handled by wealth advisors, ginormous private equity firms that, again, are generating them millions of dollars every single year on top of their tuition. And yet the government is subsidizing them by sending them hundreds of millions of dollars. So something does not make sense to me there. Put that money back into the system, put that money back into financial aid for students so they don't have to borrow so much money to start. So these are all, every single day I scratch my head and I say, I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Yeah. And it's going to get worse before it's get better. And this ripping off the Band-Aid approach is not popular with everybody, but there's no way around it. We were literally, we were going to go bankrupt sooner than later. All this smoke and mirrors trying to handle this debt. Meanwhile, we're selling off tons of property, real estate in our country to foreign entities because we're trying to pay off our debt. We're trying to, the foreign countries are calling their notes and saying you have to pay us. And we don't have the money to pay out. So there's literally no money. So we're selling off corporations, we're selling off land and real estate, and that's not in anybody's best interest. So I'm glad they ripped the Band-Aid off. I hope they continue to rip the Band-Aid off and just continue to expose the wasteful spending. They might be able to cut our taxes without cutting any programs.
Yeah.
Now, when I say programs, I'm not talking about the people who work in those agencies, because there's so much fat, everyone got bent out of shape because they were asked to reply to an email about what you did the week before. And a lot of people didn't reply. You know why? Because they don't really work there. They didn't even get the email. They don't get the emails because they never check their emails, because it's a no-show job. No-show jobs are all over this country. Again, millions, maybe billions of dollars being paid out to people who do nothing.
Yeah, no-show jobs. Hey, just to go back to the college endowments here, this is as of fiscal year 23. It's higher now by about 10%. Harvard University, number one. I happen to read that they had $52 billion this year, their endowment. University of Texas, that's a public education institution in Texas, but it's funded by all this oil money, $45 billion. Yale University, 41. Stanford, 36.5. Princeton, 34. MIT, 23. So now we get into the poorer schools. But even the lowest one on the list here, University of Virginia, has $10 billion. I mean,
I'd like to be that poor, Kerry. I'd like to be that poor.
Yeah, I really feel for them. And they lost money in their endowment in 23. What a shame. But yeah, Johns Hopkins in 23, their endowment went up 28%. I don't know if they're in those payday loans or not, but those payday loans are very profitable.
Yep, absolutely crazy. Again, I hope people are concerned about the stock market. People are concerned about the economy, but at least we will have a good, launching point. And it's not going to be from smoke and mirrors. It's going to be, hey, this is what it is. This is what the value of things really are. Yep. And look, I think it's going to have, you already saw the last report. It's having a positive impact on inflation, because we have to stop just printing money and giving money away. And that's going to help us. That's going to help.
Yeah. The combination of cutting the spending, upping the tariffs, because that'll bring in, selling the Trump gold card immigration visa, 5 million each, according to the Secretary of Commerce. I think he said that he had sold like 100,000 of them already. That could bring in $1 trillion. Yeah. And
you look at the announcement was yesterday from Hyundai. Big deal. And again, the administration is telling all of these foreign corporations, we want to do business with you, but do business here, right? Yeah. If you want us to buy the Hyundai, build the car here. American workers build it. It's your corporation, but that's how you avoid the tariffs. If we're importing all of this stuff, that makes us crazy. And what more fair and equitable way to say, I will tax you. I'm going to put the same tariffs that you put on us. Now, how come that hasn't been happening since day one?
And this just happened today. I don't know if you've caught the news, but the EU agreed to only put a 2.5% duty on vehicles coming in from the United States. Prior, it was 12.5%. Our duty on EU vehicles like Mercedes, BMW, and Volkswagen was only 2.5%. So reciprocal tariffs are working already.
They're working like a charm. And again, the average person got nervous. They didn't understand. There was lots of fear mongering going on. And again, it's not the best situation or scenario for everybody, but it's something that had to be done. So nobody likes change, but unfortunately, if we didn't change, things would have just kept worse and worse and worse in this country.
Absolutely. Could not agree with you more. And, the average tariff in the United States, and this is with trade being dramatically understated because there's a scam that they use called de minimis exports where it doesn't even go through customs. It says the value of the stuff is next to nothing, so there's no duty or tariff due. But our average tariff on what's reported is about 2%, $80 billion a year. So, look, I'm in favor of a national sales tax. Get rid of the income tax altogether. Easier to administer, and you're paying for it anyway. Let's take the middlemen out, and it's automatically withheld. Sure, there'll be people looking to subvert it and get around it and all that. That's just normal business, but easier to enforce a sales tax than an income tax.
I couldn't agree more. And then that's, you're getting taxed more if you're spending and buying, but that's the way it should be.
And then you save, you don't get taxed, right?
Exactly.
And exempt basics like food, like drugs, like all the stuff you really need. But otherwise, let's do it. Hey, Paul, appreciate you coming on. We got to run now. Just tell us where we find you again, how we connect with you on the web.
So go to betterqualified.com. We actually put together a self-help guide, regarding identity theft protection. Every link that you need for the IRS, for your IP PIN, for your online account, all of that stuff is there with step-by-step instructions. So just go to betterqualified.com.
Very cool, man. Hey, thanks for coming on. It's always great talking to you. The link to Paul's site is in the show notes of this interview. Make sure you click it, get that guide. While you're at the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com, please sign up for your free newsletter like over 75,000 of you out there have done. Paul, we'll talk to you again real soon, man. Be well.
Thanks, Kerry. You too.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.